Isabel's choosing the colours for me at the moment. No, she's on the sofa, closing the curtains. Dude, my hair is doing a fucking, like, ball thing. Hey, Noodle. How are you feeling today? You in a good mood? Huh? What's on your mind? Ooh, the light looks so pretty on you. Let's see, are you going crazy today? Not really. Better. Hey, sweethearts. You nervous? Okay, so today I'm going to be talking about a performance I went to go see. An experimental performance at Theatre Royal Plymouth called Murmur. And it was really good. So the whole thing was about mushrooms and mycelium and how... The thing is, the whole performance was dance, music, visuals that was supposed to be like based on signals they're getting from the mushrooms. So when I say what was it about, this is my interpretation of what it was about by looking at it. And I would say it was about mushrooms or mycelium breeding, like growing together and like repollinating and then dying in the end, and that whole cycle like continuing. And it was very good. Like the dancing was good, the visuals were good, the music was good. And the people that were dancing, it was very, you say like the right words, like sensual, is that? What would you say? Nodding. And it felt like kind of like childlike, but kind of like soft and sad, and familiarity of these two dancers kind of like coming together and like being like incompatible, falling apart, coming together. And it gave all this whole energy of mushrooms are a system working together to get a job done, but also being like these independent entities that are all the same creature, but different at the same time. So it gave like hive mind energy. But yeah, in terms of the production, what I found was interesting was the fuck ups that were happening and how they were dealing with it. So, for example, next to us, the poor sound guy, one of his computers kept going like a full blue light. You know, like the Windows error, like something is going wrong light. And imagining like the stress of having to deal with that in a live performance and still like have it go well, like, is really impressive. And I'm noticing that a lot now because I'm doing lots of art shit. I look at other people and I'm thinking like, wow, would I be able to do that? Or in like a Q&A, right? Let's say someone asks a really rude question. Isabel and I went to a feminist film thing in Exeter, and there was this Australian woman that was very anti-feminist.
Derailed the Q&A.
She derailed the Q&A completely, and everyone there was quite shaken up. I also felt like they were bullying one of the guests. Like in particular, it wasn't like this whole thing's a sham. It was like, you're wrong for thinking this. And I try and put myself in the shoes of the people that are suddenly being asked this question. Like, how would I deal with it? And this energy of like, oh, suddenly this very nice thing that you've worked really hard on, where everything's coming together, can have like a bad taste in your mouth. The mushroom thing didn't have anything like that. But I do think about that more and more. Oh, we lost the light. Is that battery? Oh, I didn't charge one of them.
Oops.
That's sad. Fuck, it's bright. Okay, we're orange lights. I know the lights are necessary. It's just kind of fun to have different lights.
Okay.
So yeah. Also in the performance, we were sitting, looking forward at a stage where people are dancing, and the performers would go behind us after each section, and then come back out towards the stage. And you have this feeling of you notice someone's behind you, or like walking behind you. It's kind of creepy and kind of like eerie in my opinion. And I feel like that added a lot to the performance, having the the dancers come from behind slowly, like, creep into the stage again. Like, in terms of mycology and stuff, I kind of gave you the energy of, like, you're in the system with the mushrooms and the spores and stuff, or that mushrooms are all around you. The performance also had this really cool thing where the performers were dancing and they had a projection behind them that was copying their movements, and it kept going back and back and back and back. So it kind of made like a, you know, in JoJo Part 5, when Infinite Requiem happens, and you can see like Diavolo like going back like wah 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 like that. And it made me think of like brains and neurons. You know, mushrooms in mycology, it's kind of like brains and neurons in a way. That like there's a signal being passed across a long distance of, it's like a baton, whatever you said, like, the information is this, and that person grabs it and puts the next person, this information is this, and like how a signal passes across something is a lot of the same message being said again and again. So I thought that was quite cool, that kind of visual. One of the people behind it, I'm going to put the faces and names in here because there's a website that shows their names. The guy that was like in charge of video, he was talking about color palette and how he wanted to really focus on black and white. And I've been thinking about color palette myself because I'm making a film about dice at the moment, which is also going to be like black and white because of the dices, like pips are black against a white background. And the want to restrain yourself from like adding too many colors or having like something that kind of just feels like it's enough. So that was interesting to hear about. In terms of like onboarding and stuff, like for a performance isn't just like what you see. It's going into the performance. It's watching the performance, it's leaving the performance, like what you go away with. And they gave us these. And they didn't really explain what they were, but I know what they were because I'm a bit of a mushroom head. And it's it's copying a spore print, but I'm assuming it's a mushroom that they took the head off of it, they dipped it in some gold paint, or copper paint, kind of just squished it down to copy what a spore print looks like. I think that's very cool. And also we got some information here. Did I say that it was called Murmur? Did I bring that up? Explores and amplifies mycelium communication. Mycelium are the branching, fusing networks of fungi. It is mycelium that fungi live the majority of their lives unseen underground, much like us as artists. I mean, that's fair, I guess. That is fair. So we had Rick Beyer, who was the music composition. Wille Faulkner, who's a dancer. Malin Kvist, dancer. Amelia Mueller, moving image and projection. And Claire Parker, movement, direction, costume, and staging. So yeah. Information. But yeah, it's really cool to be able to see more experimental performances in Plymouth. Plymouth has an event called a SOAK, which stands for Supporting Our Artist Kin. And it's an experimental night that happens in Plymouth, and that's been quite fun to go to. But I feel like with SOAK, maybe I'm wrong, but there's this energy to kind of have the performances be a little shorter or less of their own thing so they can be part of like a large production. So it's nice to see something where the artists have more control over like how long it's going on, what like props they have available to them, how the environment is and stuff. So yeah, I have a lot of respect for experimental artists, like putting yourself out there, you know, making a bit of a tit out of yourself, because it's fun, you know, and it's cool, but it is also like, you know, ridiculous as well. There were in the performance in Murmur, behind us there were people like talking the whole time and cracking jokes. But there was just this moment where they it looked like they had like washing baskets on their head, and they were like making like the head of a mushroom in a way. Also, it was like signaling, kind of like a satellite dish, like searching and like amplifying signals and all that. And the moment the person put it on their head, there was like a burst of laughter in the audience. And that makes me worry, because like the people doing it know it's a bit silly, obviously. But you don't want the artist in the middle of the performance to be like, oh fuck, I look stupid. Or, you know, it is a worry. But then I think about like Hugo Ball with Dada movement, and a lot of the purpose of them being ridiculous in their art was to get a reaction from an audience. But I feel like performance art has kind of moved past that in a way. And we've gotten to the point of like, we're no longer just trying to get a reaction from the audience. We're trying to get something further past that. But yeah, it does still kind of harken to, or back to at least, you're doing something a bit weird, something a bit different, something a bit interesting. So yeah. Cool shit. What would you say, Zoe? Is there anything that you'd say about the performance that stood out to you?
It was very beautiful.
It was beautiful. There was a woman at the end during the Q&A that said, I couldn't stop looking at the feet. The feet are beautiful. And I love ending a performance with a Tarantino moment. I think that's quite good. You want to play catch noodle? Can you? Yeah. Oh, okay. Oh, you're buffing and barking, lovely. So I'm gonna read my feedback I left for the performance at the on the day. Yeah, you're crying. I know. I thought it evoked a lot of mushroom elements. I could see the reproduction process in it, mycelia moving around. It was good. Around 30 minutes, my interest started to wane a little, but it was definitely impressive. It's one of those scenarios where every step feels important, so hard to say what you'd keep, shorten, etc. Overall, I really liked what you did. The echo shown in the background of the communication signal was being passed was a cool touch. Great how multidisciplinary the production was. Felt like the main focus. Cool that my brainwaves interpreted the whole time a different language. Makes intuitive sense. Yeah, because as I was watching the production, I was like, yeah, I'm following the story. I'm following what's going on. Oh, this step makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you're kind of like, oh, I guess this is representing this. Like, it was cool to watch something that had, like, no language in it, or no traditional language. Also, it was refreshing to see in the Q&A that people were admitting that, ooh, I haven't thought about that before. That's a really cool concept to look into. Or, ooh, now that I finally get the chance to answer this question, I'm answering it to myself at the same time. And I think everyone's like that. Like when you make something, you're constantly learning every single step of the production. And even like years later, you can look at your work and kind of like come to a realization of why you did a certain thing. So, yeah, I think that's cool. And that's that. Experimental art.